win total, place in the division, and playoffs, okay? I got the Mets at 91 wins, finishing second in the NL East, and we are playoff bound, baby.
I'm going with Francisco Alvarez. I feel like the power is going to finally come all together and it's going to show why he was a top prospect for so many years. He'll stay healthy and we're going to get a nice 40 spot out of him this year.
Welcome back to Meet the Mets Fans. I'm your host, Stefan. I'm here with Justin, Sid on the pod. We're here for episode number 32. How's it going, guys?
Good, ready to roll. Excited for opening day.
Yeah, baby. Thursday, gentlemen, Thursday. We're recording on a Saturday night, so we are less than a week away from opening day. I can't believe that those words just came out of my mouth. Knock on wood. We've been pretty healthy this spring training. I know I got wood somewhere. I'll do my head, right, for our listening audience only, knocking on my head right now. But we'll talk about a minor injury that happened today at Mets camp.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get to on this episode, guys. A ton of stuff that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the rotation. It's set. It's locked. We're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to make our opening day roster predictions. There's still a couple of things up in the air that we don't know. We'll tell you guys what we do know and what we think is going to happen. We're going to get a special weather forecast from opening day from our favorite weatherman. His name is Justin Spiro. He's going to join us on the podcast and tell us what the forecast is going to look like on opening day. And then we're going to go through some Mets awards. We're going to give out prediction awards on who's going to win the Mets MVP, the Cy Young, and a whole bunch of other things. So a lot to get to here on the pod. Let's start off, though, with the things surrounding the team. Let's start off with the headlines. Justin, you want to take us through the first one?
Yeah, we got this is the big one, right? Not a complete shock, right? Because this has already been reported that Howie Rose is actually this is going to be his final year in the broadcasting booth, right? He obviously does our radio games. He is going to be retiring. And, there was already talk of him with reduction in games this year. And and so it's a sad day for sure. Howie Rose has been with this team since 1987. He did not call the 1986 World Series, and so this is something for him. That's all he has talked about, how he wants to call a world championship. And so maybe this 2026 season is going to give him, right, those last little glimmer of hopes. But gentlemen, what do we think? Howie Rose retiring. What's our thoughts here?
Sad. I'm feeling old.
Yeah, Howie Rose, before the SNY booth that we have right now, Howie Rose actually was on television networks, right? He called games with Fran Healy when I was a kid. And Howie was the only thing that was worth listening to there, probably.
Yeah.
So then Gary takes over the booth.
Yeah, it was FS1.
It wasn't called that. It wasn't called that then. Fox Sports New York.
Okay, Fox Sports New York. That's right.
And so when SNY was born, Gary, who was calling the radio, moved into the booth with Keith and Ron, and we know how great the booth has been. But then Howie Rose moved to the radio side, took over for Gary Cohen over there, and has been on the radio ever since. It's hard to imagine pregame ceremonies without Howie Rose. And Howie did talk about not necessarily going away completely, but just not being in the booth as often. So we'll probably still see him around from time to time, big events, retirement ceremonies. You can imagine that he'll still probably be around for those things. So we won't miss him.
Yeah. So, with Howie Rose, he obviously battled cancer for the last couple of years. I believe he's in remission. I believe health-wise he's doing all right. But he talked about he's 72 years old, how he wants to essentially be with his wife and his grandchildren, his children. And he's like, it's a lot. Right? Like when I am out on the road and doing games and going to games, like he's like, it takes up my entire time. And so he's like, basically, I'm old. I want to be with my wife and the grandchildren. And doing this full time is just not realistic anymore. And so, good for Howie Rose, right? To, take that and to realize that family is so important. He's a beloved Met. He is going to be missed. I know that all of us are just thinking right now to a 2024 call, right, with the Pete Alonso home run, iconic of Howie Rose over there. But there are countless countless memories and moments that for Howie Rose in his career as a broadcaster.
For sure. The next thing we have up for you guys is actually a little bit of us giving you some information. The Mets have put this out there, but we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of it. The Metropolitan Park is already under construction, and it's making traveling to Citi Field a concern for many Met fans, and the Mets already know that. So they've come up with a bunch of different ways for people to travel over to Citi Field. So there is a $5 fee reduction for the MTA if you're traveling into Citi Field, and $1 if you're traveling with a kid is what it's going to cost. And then is that on the LIRR?
Yeah, that's for the Long Island Railroad. So it's just a $5 reduction for the ticket, essentially trying to encourage more people to be taking MTA traveling and the Long Island Railroad, as there's going to be less parking available with this construction going on.
Yeah. In addition to that, the Mets are discounting parking at Citi Field itself if you buy your parking in advance. Parking this year is actually being jacked up to $50 for a parking spot at Citi Field. But if you buy your parking in advance, you'll get it for $40, which is what you paid last year, if you're not a season ticket holder. So I reached out as a season ticket holder to
Nice.
the Mets to try. Maybe not nice. I didn't get a firm answer. But I reached out to the season ticket office to see if the price for season ticket holders is still the same.
Mhm.
So for season ticket holders last year, if you bought it in advance, you paid $25 for parking. If you
Okay.
didn't buy it in advance, you paid $27 for parking, which was still great, still fantastic, which is what I did all of last season. So I imagine that there'll definitely be a discount for season ticket holders. If they're jacking up the price by $10 to begin with, they're probably increasing the price for season ticket holders as well. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm paying $27 every time I go to the stadium, but obviously they're trying to encourage people to buy those tickets in advance as well.
Yeah, I also was reading that if you don't buy your ticket in advance, they're also saying that it's not even a guarantee that you're going to be able to get a spot at Citi Field, again, with the reduction in available spots because of construction that's going on there. And so Met fans that are listening to this pod, that are going to be going to games, buy your ticket in advance or take public transportation. That's basically what the Mets are trying to encourage over here. We don't want you pulling up to Citi Field all jacked up, ready to go, and then you spend an hour trying to find parking somewhere out on the street. That'd be the worst case scenario. So if you're listening to this, right, definitely take advantage, right, of some of the things that we're kind of illustrating here. Sid, how about shuttle buses? What do you got for us?
Yeah, I remember taking the shuttle bus back in the day. It was a school bus when they were building Citi Field from, we'd go to Shea on a school bus. That was very fun. But now again, shuttle buses, I'm assuming it's going to be a little nicer now we're out of the Wilpon era. uh, you know, might have some AC now. And shuttle buses are set to leave from Paramus Park, Mall at Bay Plaza, Newport Center Mall, Roosevelt Field Mall, Whitman Shops. So multiple options for you to get to the park in a fun, easy way. Maybe start pre-gaming early. Park your car at Roosevelt Field and just jump on the shuttle bus. Seems like fun.
I kind of love it, honestly, right? Like it takes away the issue of like worrying about driving your car, right? So if you're not, I know Stefan is kind of licking his chops at this one, right? He refuses to take public transportation, specifically the trains, and so maybe this might be an opportunity for him to not have to drive to the game. Maybe he'll be on the shuttle bus, right? What do you think, Stefan?
Yeah, I tell you, the day I take the shuttle bus, I'll probably also try the 999 challenge, where you get to drink 9 beers, 9 hot dogs, and in 9 innings.
I saw that. I saw
and
that.
then I'll take
I heard
then I'll take the
I heard
shuttle
they're
bus
mini
back.
dogs though. I heard there's 6 to 8 ounce beers and they're mini dogs over there, that 999 challenge. But hey, if someone's taking that on, right, good for them. That's still a feat that I would not want to do.
Concern isn't the mini dogs. It's the beer. It's gonna be hot. They're giving you 9 beers all at one time. How are you supposed to keep that cold?
It's terrible. They're gonna be
Yeah.
flat by the end of the game.
All right, one more for you guys.
Yeah,
There's also
I gotta say real quick, my buddy Vinny has to do the 999 challenge. He lost in fantasy football this year. So he was like all jacked up. He 999. We were going to do it at my house. But now that the Mets have this as an option, I feel like it's destiny, right? We got to go to Citi Field. Vinny DiClemente, if fans, I'll let you guys know when it's going to be happening, right? We'll embarrass this guy. We'll laugh at him. He's also a Yankee fan, so it'd be perfect, right? And so we'll definitely get on him a little bit, with that whole 999 challenge.
For sure. There's also a ferry if you're coming from Connecticut, Staten Island, New Jersey. It costs like $80 to $85. I don't know if you're traveling from that far, if you're willing to spend $80, $85 to take a ferry, but that's an option out there. But a real option, which I used to do a bunch, there is discounted parking for City Field at Skyview Center, which is like right across that bridge by Roosevelt Avenue. Skyview Center. There's also discounted parking at Flushing Commons and Flushing Plaza. These are local, like, shops that are nearby, like malls, little strip malls and types of things where there's a parking garage like Skyview. You could park there. It's very much discounted, not going to be anywhere close to that $40 mark, and then kind of walk over the bridge to get back to City Field. So those are options as well if you're traveling to City Field this season and you're not driving directly in.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy with all this construction going on, right? You have multiple things happening, right? You have like the MLS like stadium being built, and then of course you have, that park and that Hard Rock Casino that's being constructed. So it's gonna be a pretty crazy scene going on at City Field, let alone like the Mets. We're talking about just like the surrounding area. So definitely, take into consideration, guys. When we're traveling to games, what's the best mode of transportation for you?
All right, guys, we're gonna jump into it now. We're gonna take a look at that 26-man roster projection and what we got going on for opening day. However, before we do that, we are going to be doing our first ever promo for Dubby. So Dubby Energy is a energy drink that's out there. I'm gonna read you guys a little promo that we wrote up. They're sponsoring us. If you guys are willing to go out there and try Dubby and you use our code that we're specifically gonna give to you, you guys get a 10% discount and we get a
Let's
little
go.
kickback as well.
Let's go.
So Dubby promo, here it comes. This is what's fueling these late night roster debates and opening day hype. Dubby gives you the clean energy and zero sugar, no jitters and no crash. And none of that extra nonsense either. No artificial colors, fillers, or hidden ingredients. Plus, every flavor is custom made. So you're not getting the same thing you've had 100 times from the traditional cans. And it comes out to just about $1 a drink. Made right here in the USA and now officially powering Meet the Mets fans. Go grab yours and use code MEETMetsFans for 10% off. That's code MEETMETSFANS. Now let's take a look at this 26-man roster.
Let's go, Dubby. We love it.
All right, guys, we got the roster up here. You're all taking a look at it if you're looking on the visual end here.
Yeah, I mean this roster has pretty much been set, right? With the offseason moves that were being made, right? With some of the acquisitions that they had, plus they were bringing back a majority of their team. There was only a few spots available. Some of those spots were like bullpen arms, and maybe one or two bench spots. And so, when we're taking a look right at this like 26-man projected roster, right? So for our listening audience, right, what we have up here is that we have essentially the entire starting lineup, our bench, our starting rotation, and bullpen, and we'll kind of walk you through everything, right, that you need to know in terms of the 26-man roster over here. For the starting lineup, we obviously have Alvarez, right? We'll get to the bench, but it's Alvarez, Beatty at first, Simeon at second, Bo Bichette at third, Lindor at short, Soto in left, Luis Robert Jr. or Robert. We're not sure which one we're going with yet. In center field, we got Carson Benge in right and DHing Polanco. Now, of course, there's a lot of flexibility with this roster. A lot of guys that can play multiple positions. Right now, we have penciled in Beatty at first. It could be a Polanco at first. It could be a Beatty DHing. Obviously, Bo Bichette got some reps at shortstop we saw the other day in spring training. So there's a lot of flexibility going on with this starting lineup and this starting roster. And I think it really kind of came together really nicely. Sid, what do you think of it so far?
Yeah, I mean, good job by Lindor, getting ready and making this opening day roster. That's like the only question mark I had. Everything was pretty much set. Polanco and Beatty, I feel like you're 100% correct. You'll see a lot of interchanging there. In spring training, I think Beatty did a good job of solidifying himself a spot where Blue Bob, did a good job of, looking like a good comeback player candidate.
Mhm.
I think we're ready to roll. I think this is a roster that's probably going to be a lot better than last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carson Benge is the guy that sticks out to me that I want to talk about real quick. So we went into this offseason thinking that Carson Benge was going to have every shot to make this major league team. The Mets haven't officially announced it yet. Joel Sherman put it out there that the Mets said it, that this is what's going to happen, but they haven't officially said it. And it makes sense. He's done every single thing the Mets could have asked him to do. He went out there and the numbers are there. And they said the numbers don't matter, but the numbers were there, right? Like he put up the numbers necessary. He looked like a major leaguer. He acted like a major leaguer while he was there. He played a really good right field. So Carson Benge making this major league team, he's going to be playing every single day, Met fans. Like you can expect to see him in right field. Lubob is the guy that you're probably not going to see every day. And so I can see Carson Benge sliding over and playing center field a good amount. And then that opening up an opportunity for someone else to be in right field, whether that be Brett Beatty, which then potentially gets a guy like Mark Vientos into the lineup as a DH.
Yeah, so with those bench spots that, you guys were just referring to, you got Vientos, who again can play third, he can play first, he's going to be DHing. You got obviously your backup catcher, Luis Torrens. You have Tyrone Taylor in outfield. And so the last roster spot, which, going into today, I think all of us assumed that it was going to be Mike Tauchman, right? Mike Tauchman had a heck of a spring training. He's a professional. He is a true major leaguer. And he proved it, right, during this spring training to a lot of like common Met fans. And unfortunately, he left the game early today with a knee injury. He injured his knee. He tried going back out to the field, started jogging, had to like pull himself off like in between innings. And so, we don't know the extent of that injury, but never a good sign when you're talking about a knee injury in spring training. A guy that like is still fighting for a roster spot had to pull himself out of that game. Clearly, there's something going on there. And so, it's sad to see it. And so what does that now mean, right? Like if Topman is now not going to be taking that spot, now there is potentially one roster spot or one open spot that we have now on the offensive side. So, Stefan, what do you think is going to really take place there?
Yeah, man. So to me, like you said, it was going to be Topman, but I'm giving the roster spot here to Brujan because of his ability to play third base, shortstop, and second base, right? We don't have that flexibility. And so if we're not going with that additional outfielder in Topman, I think it's going to be Brujan. Said, do you disagree? Do you think it could be an MJ Melendez potentially?
Potentially Melendez. I like him. I think he did a good job too of kind of proving himself to be someone worth some major league at bats early on in the season. But we did give him a minor league contract. He accepted it. So I think that flexibility there is gonna maybe kind of hold him back, which it is what it is. It's probably more of a GM financial kind of deal to kind of give the roster more flexibility. I won't be surprised to see if they go with another reliever or try to wing it with potentially just keeping a little bit more depth from the start pitching.
I don't think you're allowed. I think you're only allowed to hold 13
Bench
pitchers
spots.
on the
Yeah.
roster. So, you can't like manipulate it in that sense of adding like another reliever to 14 and 12. So I think you can go the opposite way with hitters. I think you can do 14 and 12 in that sense, but most teams carry 13 pitchers and 13 hitters. So if that is the case, right, Sid, I think you bring up a good point with that whole, they already offered MJ Melendez that minor league contract. He accepted it. I think if this was 5 days previous and MJ Melendez was still like fighting or still up in spring training, I think he would have had a real shot at making this roster. But I guess I'm with you on this with the Brujan. I thought a couple of days ago the Mets were making provisions to not have Brujan as they played Bo Bichette at shortstop. And that was in the case of like, let's say a Lindor goes out in the middle of the game with an injury or whatever the case may be, just to give Bo a couple of reps at short, just so he can fill in at that time, and then carry that extra outfielder with Tauchman. But, now with this injury, and listen, we're projecting here. We're saying that Tauchman is out. We don't know that, right? What we know is that he left the game early with a knee injury. We don't love to see those types of things. He had to pull himself out. He couldn't really put pressure on it. Again, he was jogging out to the field and again had to then come back out to the dugout. So, hopefully he's all right, but there's a good chance, right, that he's probably now going to, start the year on the IL and probably not be on our roster here.
Yeah. So we'll turn things over now to the pitching side. The Mets officially announced the order of the starting rotation, and we went through spring training thinking there's a potential for a 6-man rotation if everyone stayed healthy, but the likelihood of everyone staying healthy, very small. Well, everyone stayed healthy, at least up until this point. We got one more game tomorrow, so like knock on wood again. But the Mets announced a 5-man rotation. It's going to be Freddie Peralta on opening day. Peterson is going to take the mound on Saturday, so there's an off day Friday. Peterson is going to pitch game 2 of the Pirates series. Nolan McLean will pitch game 3. Then we'll go to Clay Holmes and Kodai Senga taking the 5th spot in the starting rotation, which Sean Manaea announced officially as going to the bullpen in a piggyback role. Sid, what's your thoughts?
Senga as your fifth starter, that is amazing. A couple months ago, a lot of question marks. I feel Peralta deserves it. He's an ace. He has to get that opening day nod. I like Peterson. I'm giving a lefty to kind of split up Peralta and McLean. And Holmes did a good job last year. Hope he could has the stamina. And Senga is the fifth starter, I think is really good and very strategic to kind of push him back as far as possible. Try to limit his innings and get as much productivity out of him. But I'm happy Manaea is not in this starting lineup. I feel like that's a really big call by the manager, because having a guy that you paid so much money, start in the bullpen and taking him out of the rotation where you don't feel obliged to give him a starting spot you know, is pretty big and pretty, important for a manager to kind of just do that. Let the team know that, best guy is going to get the opportunity to pitch, and Manaea not hitting 90 miles per hour, definitely didn't deserve that nod. Hopefully he gets it together, but yeah, love it.
Yeah, I could tell you that Manaea was not happy, right? Manaea, he spoke to the media yesterday when this was announced, and or today, whenever this was, and he talked about how he still views himself as a starting pitcher. He's like, of course, I'm disappointed that I'm not in the rotation. He's like, he did say though, hey, I'll do anything to like help this team win, and when I'm out there, right, I'll make sure that I'm pitching to the best of my ability. But he clearly, like, his demeanor, he was not happy that he is in this bullpen, still views himself as a starting pitcher. But you're right, though, Sid. If you're looking at his stats over the spring training, right, his velo has been down, right? Last year, he averaged right around, like, 91.5 miles per hour. He's been at right around, like, 89. And when asked about it, he's like, I'm healthy. Like, when games come around, the adrenaline will get me up 3 miles per hour. And, like, no fan and no, like, front office wants to hear that, right? Like, what is that? What do you mean the adrenaline is going to get you up to, like, that 91? Which means that you're going full effort in order to get to that 91, which, again, is, like, a concern for injury, right? When players are going max effort all the time, that's when injuries really start to occur. And so for Sean Manaea, if you are having to go max effort every single pitch to just get you to that where you were last year. Plus, you already had those loose bodies, and I put in air quotes for our listening audience, right? Those loose bodies in his elbow that he didn't address in the offseason. It's definitely a huge concern for us, right? I'm not saying he can't be affected by throwing 89, but again, if you are now someone that is only going to be pitching, one time through the order, you might be a little bit more successful if your velocity is down versus you having to go 2 or 3 times through that order as a starting pitcher. So I really like the move with Manaea. I think it gives a lot of flexibility to the manager, and I think it takes a lot of pressure off of, some of those starting pitchers, right, if they aren't going deep into those games. And it takes pressure off of that bullpen, where now if you have that piggyback situation, you might be able to complete a game with 2 starting pitchers in the sense of one of your starters and a Sean Manaea.
Yeah, honestly, guys, I think the Mets did it on purpose to screw Edwin Diaz. Right, like Edwin Diaz is supposed to be the highest paid reliever in baseball, but not anymore. Sean Manaea is now the highest paid reliever in baseball. No, that's all jokes. But Sean Manaea, I think the biggest situation for him is going to be who's he piggybacking, right? Like the Mets haven't said that, and it seems like there is a plan in place. Our manager Carlos Mendoza pretty much said, like, I'm not telling you what the plan is. I'm not telling you who he's piggybacking or what the plan is here. Sean Manaea is going to be in that piggyback role, so I'm not sure where it's going to land, who he's going to do that with. Could it be Kodai Senga, who looks really dominant right now? I don't know. Could it be Clay Holmes to limit his innings? I don't know. I can tell you who it's not. It's not Freddie Peralta, and it's not Nolan McLean.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, and so with the bullpen, right? We obviously been talking about Manaea. You got Manaea. You have Devin Williams. You have Luke Weaver, Brooks Raley, Tobias Myers, Huascar Brazaban, Luis Garcia, and then there is still one open roster spot for the bullpen. Right now, we have, for our listening audience, we have penciled in Kimbrel as the last spot in this in this bullpen. Stefan, what do you think here?
Yeah, so I think it makes sense that it's Kimbrel, and it's kind of one of those things that we talked about earlier in earlier episodes of the podcast, where Craig Kimbrel is a veteran. He's here on a minor league deal and had the option to walk away from this team. That was today. You told me, Justin, that was today.
Yeah,
He had the
yeah.
ability to leave.
Yeah, so
Yes,
his first opt out could have been today. He had the opportunity to walk away from the team, and he decided to not exercise that option as of yet.
which clearly means that the Mets are telling him that he's still got a legit shot to earn that spot, and it seems like he's going to. He's done a decent job. Has he been lights out? Absolutely not. Right? Is he gassing the ball at 97 miles an hour? He's not. But he's a veteran presence with closer experience who's done a decent job. And so if you can get some innings out of him at some point this year, at the beginning of this season, why not take it? See where it leads you. And if he ends up sucking, the Mets can cut him at any point in time and bring up one of those guys that has really dominated, one of the younger arms that we want to add on to this team that will likely be here no matter what. Let's just see how long we could ride the Craig Kimbrel train. Sid, what do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think this time of year you go with the veterans, and you let the guys go, young kids get a little seasoning, some more in the minors, and then take it from there. I think that's exactly how it'll play out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Dickie Lovelady, like, does any Met fan want to see Dickie Lovelady back up here again? Like, that's who we're talking about here. We're not talking about like a stud that the Mets are like, choosing not to take on here. Obviously when AJ Minter is healthy, it's going to be AJ Minter. Now that's barring all these other guys are performing it right at a high level. They all stayed healthy. He would then be slotting in over there, and they would take then the best available at that point. But we'll see like what happens with Kimbrel. I don't mind giving him an opportunity like early on in the season. We saw a bunch of like young talent in the spring training and in this Mets farm system that are going to have an impact in 2026. And so, even if they're not starting the year on this roster, at some point, those guys, whether it's like Ryan Lambert, right, who's thrown, 101 miles per hour, is going to have some type of impact in that bullpen. And so I'm fine with Craig Kimbrel right now. Like you said, Stefan, he's throwing like 92, 93, but he's getting his off-speed pitches over the plate right now. And so hopefully he's effective. Hopefully he doesn't, mess up too many games for us and we're screaming, what the heck are we doing over here with Craig Kimbrel? But at this point, I get why the Mets are like continuing to use him and maybe probably making this opening day roster.
Yeah. All right, guys. Before we move on from the 26 man, there is one thing that we really, really need to address, and it's going back a little bit. We should probably address it when we talked about the bench, but one of those bench spots is going to Mark Vientos, who you guys know I love. I love Mark Vientos, but Mark Vientos is batting 1 for 31 on the spring. He went 0 for 8 in the WBC. Mark Vientos, does he deserve a spot in this Mets 26-man roster? Does he deserve that spot, or should that spot be going to somebody else? Justin, what do you think?
So he had a home run today. So he's technically 2 for like 33 or 2 for 34 at this point. He had a 400. Yeah,
all right, he's back, baby. He's back.
He's
he
back.
Had a home run.
400-foot home run off of some national pitcher that is probably not going to make the team. It's a huge concern. But, listen, Mark Vientos has no options. The only thing the Mets would have to do at this point, they would have to cut him, right? Or like take a trade that you're going to get basically no value for him at this point. And so Mark Vientos being a right-handed bat off of the bench, I think still makes sense for this team, especially because you have guys like, I know Polanco's a switch hitter, but you guys have like Brett Beatty, Carson Benge, right, who are all lefties. And so if now you can plug in this Mark Vientos in some capacity, right, as a right-handed bat, I think it makes sense to still obviously keep him on this roster, but it is a massive concern. And I know, like, I don't want to get too crazy over spring numbers, vice versa, like in both ways, right? Guys that are doing really well, like a Christian Paje, who's batting like 500 still, or Mark Vientos, who's batting like .030 or whatever it is. But we saw a down year last year from Mark Vientos, and the fact that he's getting off to such a slow start in the spring is definitely a concern I think for a lot of Met fans. The Mets organization is saying no big deal. Let's hope it's no big deal, and maybe this home run today is going to jolt it. Sid, what do you think?
Yeah, I just think he's having a lot of trouble with the breaking pitch. Sliders away, eating him up all the time. I hope I'm wrong, but I think the book's out on him. It's sad because he's a very good player, and I think he has an opportunity to contribute. But I don't know how long more Mark Vientos has on this roster.
I just don't understand how you can go from a guy that was so clutch to all of a sudden not be able to hit the baseball. Like, I just don't understand how you lose it to that level. And then, like, I really did think Mark Vientos would go into the WBC. He would dominate in the WBC for whatever reason, just get hot for Team Nicaragua and come back to the Mets ready to fight for that DH spot. Unfortunately, wasn't meant to be from.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, when you look at like his numbers in the spring, they're obviously atrocious, but again, you know, like silver lining, he's hitting a lot of balls hard. Like the other day, he had 107-mile-per-hour, like ground ball that was an out. Like, and again, what does that mean? 107 miles per hour. A average exit velocity of 92 is elite, right? Like 89, bad, 92 is elite. So to hit a ball 107 miles per hour is amazing. And so, but the fact that that was an out, right? And so, like, it's like some of those things that are happening with Mark Vientos. And then, you know, then it's a discouraging. I hit this ball so hard, it's an out, right? I can't catch a break, right? Boo hoo. And it kind of just like, I'm sure it's just a trickle down effect, right, for Mark Vientos. And so maybe this home run today is going to jolt him. Maybe this will be the last time we talk about Mark Vientos and his struggles. I doubt it, but who knows, right?
All right, boys, let's move on here. So the next thing we got up, we're supposed to be joined by our in-house weatherman, Mr. Justin Spiro, who's having a little bit of technical difficulties getting on. So we'll see if we get him on. Let's move into the opening day pitching matchup, and hopefully by the end of it, we're able to get Justin on, who will tell us all about the weathers. This opening day matchup features Freddie Peralta for us. Oh, wait, hold on. We've got
There
Justin Spiro.
Hello.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Justin
Good.
Spiro.
How are you?
Justin, so you're on the pod, obviously with me, you know Justin Lakeoff, and we're here with my cousin Sid, who's on the podcast with us. Sid, this is Justin, and Justin does the absolute best weather alerts in New York City. He's got a page. If you don't follow it, if you live in New York City and don't get your weather from Justin, you're getting the wrong information. So we thought there is no better source to bring onto the podcast to tell Met fans what the weather's going to be like on Thursday for opening day. And I know it's Saturday, we're a few days out. But Justin, what do you got for us on the weather? What are we looking at?
So things could change.
We are recording live.
All right.
Yeah.
No, we're live, Justin. We are live.
I will treat it like
this will
live.
be out in the universe for all to now witness. Talk to
All
us.
right, well, I
Justin.
hope I don't, make any wrong forecasts and get blamed. But as of right now, we're looking at really nice weather. We're looking at about 60 degrees, partly cloudy skies. The winds out of the southwest. So I know we were speaking the other day about the direction of where the ball of the
Where home plate is.
Where home plate is vis-a-vis the outfield. And I think we determined that would pretty much be a wash, because I think it was north. It was like northwest, so the north, and it would cancel out. So no real effect on like how far home run balls will go. But the tricky thing with weather this time of year is like some of those backdoor cold fronts and the effect that the ocean could have. Because the Mets City Field is in northern Queens, makes a big difference. If it was in southern Queens and it could be getting southwest, brings us the warm air from the Gulf Stream, but more imminently, it would bring us the cold 40-something degree Atlantic Ocean temperature. So if we were playing like next door to JFK, we'd probably be, in the 40s. But because we're northern Queens, the air has time to re-warm up as it's going up through the borough. But things could change. So look, tomorrow, for example, is going to be another beautiful day here in the city. Hope everyone got a chance to go out and enjoy today. Tomorrow will be probably low. But down in D.C., it's going to be 85. Up in Boston, it's going to be 45. So a little shift in where the warm air penetrates versus where the winds blow in off the ocean. If everyone remembers that one day, it was like a year ago, like last March, there was like an 80-degree day in March, and it was a Saturday. And when like 5 minutes later, it dropped like 30 degrees because the winds changed direction. So we could monitor that more as the week progresses. I don't know if you guys have like a chat forum where we could like maybe quote tweet this with an update on like Tuesday or Wednesday. But as of now, looking good for a nice sunny opening day.
All right,
Love
Justin,
that.
we appreciate that. We definitely will post that little segment that you just did on our Instagram, where we can definitely comment on it, and on Twitter, where Justin is huge. Justin has a huge following on Twitter. So, we're hoping that you can hop back on Twitter, reply to it, and give us the full update. right before Thursday.
Yes, I will definitely
Justin,
retweet.
while we got you on, how did you get into this whole weatherman Spiro?
I think I just always loved extreme weather. The truth is, I don't really look. I did it, for you guys. I'll go out of the way, but usually I don't really care about 60 degrees in April or March. It's boring. I want like the extreme hurricanes, snowstorms, blizzards. But you know, I like the extremes. But this week's hopefully be a nice non-extreme opening day.
Hey, I think we got to get him on for all of our big series coming up, right? The weather does matter for a lot of these games, especially as you were just mentioning early on in the season, as these weather patterns get a little bit crazy. Direction is changing. I know I'm learning a lot. I appreciate you dumbing it down for the audience here and the listening audience over here, not using too much crazy terminology. I know I've talked to you in the past, and there was something trops going on. I had no idea what you were referring to.
Well,
So.
we'll get there next time.
Justin, your homework though is to figure out for the next time we have you on here how sports bettors should bet based on home runs and the wind direction at Citi Field. That's the next one.
Right.
We'll
Well,
talk
keep
about.
in mind though, for sports bettors here, the apps know all of this. Take it all into account. The only time weather could really help you, like I'll say real quick, I remember once there was it was a football game, and I saw in the models before the main forecast changed that it was going to be very cold and windy. So then you take the under. But if you wait till game day, everyone has a forecast, the under is going to drop down. Same thing with wind direction and baseball. It's hard to beat the books.
All right,
Appreciate
Justin. Thanks, man. We appreciate having you on.
All right. Take care.
All right, Justin.
Justin.
Nice work.
Bye.
There you
Man,
have it, right?
what
Look at this
timing.
podcast. Look what we provide over here. We got transportation, we got weather, right? We are doing all type of podcasts over here. Now we just need the listening audience. That's all we're missing right now here, boys.
We're talking to ourselves. All right, no. So let's jump into it. So we know the weather is going to be a great day out at Citi Field. The Mets are going to be facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens on the mound. So if this wasn't opening day, and it was a Paul Skeens day against the New York Mets, we'd all be coming out to watch it because he's that elite. But this is an opening day Paul Skeens, right? Paul Skeens, opening day, Citi Field against Freddie Peralta. I'm going to be there at the game. I'm going to be listening to the game also using the Odyssey app. So the Mets announced that Odyssey and Scorebug have partnered together, and you can listen to the broadcast on the Odyssey app without any delay. So I'll be able to watch the game as it's happening and listen to Howie Rose in my ear calling play-by-play. So I'm going to check that out, and I'll let you guys know just how smooth it is without the delay. But that's pretty awesome by the Mets. And opening day, I'm hyped for it. I'm jacked up. Sid, what are you thinking about opening day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what a good matchup to start off the season. Get the blood pumping, and Skeens is gonna definitely be tough. I mean, a lot of work for our hitters to kind of deal with that. Pitchers always kind of have an edge early in the season. But it's gonna be fun. Also, we don't have a scrub going for us. He's gonna earn that contract that we're gonna dish out soon enough. So a statement game opening day. I think Steve Cohen's gonna open up the checkbook sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I feel like the last time the Mets played Pittsburgh last season, the Mets got spanked, like bad. Okay, they got swept. Pittsburgh put up, it was like an ungodly offensive barrage by the worst offensive team last year. And I'm not just saying this like they were statistically one of the worst offensive teams last year. The Mets came around, or they played the Mets, and the Mets got annihilated, right? Guys that I've never heard of. And I am a fantasy baseball nerd, right? So I hear about all the weird ins and outs of guys I have never heard of in my life. We're going 3 for 3. I'm like, what is happening right now? And so the Mets owe a little bit to Pittsburgh, right? That was some of our bad times last year, okay? I know Paul Skeens is a stud. When he pitches, it's effortless, 100. It's crazy to watch that dude throw a baseball. You also should watch that guy warm up. He's also crazy. He's got the weirdest warm up routine ever. With weird I don't even know what he's doing, honestly. But it is going to be a great game. The Mets obviously have one of the best teams in all of baseball, but Paul Skeens is one of the best pitchers, right? If not the best pitcher in the NL for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So before we get to opening day, one of the things that we want to do on the podcast is go through some of the big landmark milestones that the Mets are going to encounter throughout the season and give our predictions for how the Mets are going to perform. And we'll do this in like a snake-like format, guys. So we're going to start with the first one on the top. We're going to go Justin, Sid, me, and then I'll go again for the next line, which will be home runs. It'll be me, Sid, Justin, and we'll kind of snake our way through all of the different accolades and awards that we're going to get through. Are we good with that?
And no doubt. We're going to start with win total, place in the division, and playoffs. Okay. I got the Mets at 91 wins, finishing second in the NL East, and we are playoff bound, baby. Right. And that is the most important thing in my case.
Yeah, I have them 95. I think they're going to take a different approach this year, and they're going to start managing and trying to maximize wins from game one. I think a lot of people are going to be on a short leash, so I think it'll be an interesting managing perspective to kind of look at this year. And I feel like we're going to milk out a lot more wins. I feel a few more than what Justin has, but not too much more. I don't see us running away with the division, but I do believe we'll be first.
Yeah, I'm going way over Justin's mark. I'm going 10 wins over Justin's mark. The Mets are going to win 101 games this year. Obviously, they're making the playoffs and first place in the NL East. Last year, the Mets were on pace to do a similar thing, to put up a large win total, and then they had massive amounts of atrocious losing streaks that followed. This team is not that team, right? This team is better than that team. This team is a team that's not going to go through the lulls of weeks of not being able to hit with a runner in scoring position because so many guys put the bat on the ball. So I believe in this team. I think this team is going to be better than last year. It's going to be one of the best teams the Mets have ever put out onto the field. 101 wins, first place in the NL East. And the guy who's going to lead the charge, our next marker up here is home run leader for the New York Mets is going to be Juan Soto. Juan Soto is going to be the guy we signed him to be, the guy he was last year. He's going to jack 44 home runs this year and lead the Mets in home runs. What do you got, Sid?
I'm going a little out of left field. I'm going to say
in left field. I got Juan Soto.
Yeah. Touche. I'm going with Francisco Alvarez. I feel like the power is going to finally come all together and it's going to show why he was a top prospect for so many years. He'll stay healthy and we're going to get a nice 40 spot out of him this year.
Love that. Love that. Not to sound like a homer over here, but I got Soto also with 38 home runs. I might have just traded for him in a fantasy league, right? No big deal. I got a prediction of a big season coming around. Let me tell you something. I had Juan Soto when he was 19. I somehow traded this guy away. And I've still, for the last 4 years, have thought about that trade and how terrible that was. And it's taken me 4 long years to finally get this man back. And I will never get rid of him. Right. And I will tell you now, as Sid and Stefan, who play in our fantasy league together, don't even come knocking. Juan Soto is not available and he will not become available. So I got Juan Soto at 38 home runs, and that drives us into our next one, our RBI leader. Obviously, last year was Pete Alonso. Juan Soto, I got at 112 RBIs. Now I know Juan Soto's in the second position, right, or he's batting second. Which might impact his RBIs a little bit, as obviously, you don't have as many guys on in front of you. But I think last year he got off to such a terrible start, specifically with runners in scoring position. There was a lot going on, largest contract in the history, right, of Major League Baseball, moving to a new city, right, or moving organizations, a lot of pressure on him. Whatever the case was, got off to such a terrible start. That will not happen this year. I got him for 112 RBIs, 38 home runs, right? Juan Soto, my boy.
Yeah, likewise me. I just have him for a little bit more RBIs. I feel like this is going to be a team that grinds out a lot more runs, and Soto will be the beneficiary. I have him at 120, just because I feel like he will stay healthiest the longest, and I do feel like Bichette will benefit from having Soto bat in front of him. But at the same time, I feel like Soto is just going to grind out this whole year and, hopefully he'll give us a lot of RBIs.
Yeah, I got Bo Bichette taking the RBI title for the Mets this year. I got him at 111. So just one less than Justin has at Juan Soto. I have Bo Bichette at 111, and I think that's going to lead the team. I think the Mets are going to have 3 guys with 100 RBIs this year. And that is
Mhm.
a tremendous lineup that we're talking about if you're able to do that. But Bo Bichette is going to lead the way. And I think specifically it's because he's going to bat in the 3-hole with Juan Soto in front of him,
Yeah.
with Lindor in front of him, and with the 9-hitter in front of Lindor. And I really do believe that the Mets 9-hitter is either going to be Carson Benge or Luis Robert, both guys that I think are going to be on base a ton for the Mets. I kind of hope it's Robert. I think that's a great spot for him. Either one, though, is going to be on base a ton when that lineup turns over, and I think Bo Bichette is going to benefit tremendously. He's also in a walk year. Like, I know it's a 3-year contract, but it's really not a 3-year contract.
He says he wants to play in New York. He's always wanted to. I don't know. Maybe he's not walking.
We'll see. We'll see. And he might win the batting title also, because that's what we got next for us. So we got our average leader for the New York Mets. For me, it's going to be Bo Bichette taking the average category. I got him batting 308 this year. I think that he is going to have a tremendous year, and I think he's going to opt out of that contract and try to get a bigger deal or a longer deal.
Yeah, again, I don't know if I'm falling in love with what I'm seeing in spring training from Bench, but I just love the way he goes the other way. And I have him at 305 for the lead. I don't know if I'm just just too biased and just like the new shiny toy, but I think Bench is gonna get a bat for a pretty good average this year.
Yeah, Steph, I got Bo also. Right? And guys, when we made these, we did not look at like who we had. So I'm sorry, there's a lot of repeats over here. I have Bo Bichette batting 298. It's difficult to bat 300. Last year there was only, I think, like 2 major leaguers that actually batted above 300. 98. Obviously it's right there. But I think Bo Bichette's gonna have a big year. That leads us into our stolen base leader. Let's not forget about one of our captains, right? Our man, Francisco Lindor. I got Lindor right now with 33 stolen bases. He had a surgery on his handmade bone, his hand. I think it's going to take away a little bit from his power, and I think he's going to try to do some other things because he's not hitting as many home runs as he once hit. So that's kind of where my head was at with Lindor. Maybe he kind of takes a few extra stolen bases because his power is down a little bit to start the season.
Yeah, I think Soto will kind of eclipse Lindor again. I think he's going to play a lot this year, and I think I have him here for 40. I think he's going for a 40-40. He's going to try to gun for it, but I do think he'll end up with more stolen bases than home runs this year.
Love that.
Juan Soto, MVP. So I'm going Luis Robert. I think he's going to steal 35 bases this year, which I don't think is a lot to ask for. It's actually only 2 more than he stole last year. So he stole 33 bases last year in a season where he did not have a great year. Right. So I think he's going to be on base a lot more. I think we saw in spring training. I think the Mets hid him from us a little bit throughout spring training because they don't want to show everybody what they've got in him. But I think that this guy is going to be in the lineup, probably not every single day. We talked about that. But I think when he's out there, he's going to get on base and he's going to steal bases because that's what he does.
Yeah, he also only played in like 112 games also, right? Like he didn't have a full season. So the fact that he had 33 stolen bases last year in 112 games for Chicago Whites team that did not care at all and he didn't care. Yeah, I love that. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Mets ERA leader. I'm going to go with Kodai Senga. This is a guy that could have potentially not been the 5th starter of this team, right? A guy that came in potentially being cut, being traded. This is a guy that we talked about on the pod, maybe not even being a part of our team. But Kodai Senga has looked really, really good this spring. And I think that he's going to show everybody that the first half of last year is the pitcher that he is, that Pete Alonso destroyed the second half of his career, and that's not who he is. So we'll see if Kodai Senga can keep himself healthy and win the ERA title for the Mets this year. I've got him at 2.85.
Yeah, me too. I think Senga will be the best ERA leader for this year. I have him a little higher at 3.2. But yeah, a lot of what you said. I just think he's gonna limit a lot of damage. He's gonna regress back to the mean, which is being a sub-3 ERA pitcher. I just hope he stays healthy enough, which is what his goal is. Hopefully, he's right and we're right.
Yeah, I got our boy Nolan McLean at 3.13. He came onto the scene last year, 8 starts, just over a 2 ERA. Obviously, throughout a regular entire season, I think it's going to be a little bit higher than that. I think we're all excited. All Met fans are excited to see this guy. We saw a little bit of taste of it in the World Baseball Classic. 4 innings, 2 earned runs, right? We're right there at that 3 mark. And so I think he's going to be pretty dominant. I'm excited, obviously, to watch him. For our next category, MVP,
Wait,
it's a clean.
Real quick, on the ERA leader thing, I just want to point out, we didn't say Freddie Peralta, right? And so if Freddie Peralta is the ace of this team, but Kodai Senga and or Nolan McLean have better ERAs than he does, this team, I'm telling you, 101 wins. It's coming. Loading.
Yeah. Freddie usually has a little bit higher of an ERA. He does. Whatever. Yes, I love that. Yes, it's good.
All right, go ahead. MVP.
All right, our next category, MVP. It's a clean sweep, gentlemen. It is Juan Soto. Once again, we did not look at these prior to us doing it. I don't think that's a shocker for any of us to hear that. The man was paid $765 million for a reason, and he proved it last year. Why? He was a stud, right?
Yeah, we could just
Yeah.
jump to the next one here. Sid, you want to take Cy
Yeah.
Young?
Well, yeah, for sure. I have Nolan McLean, and again, this is a clean sweep. Yeah, I feel like we're all enamored with the new shiny thing, and I think he's proven it. He's proven it on a world stage. He's proven it, to be resilient. He's proven it that he could, grind, and the stuff is just nasty. The sweeper is insane. Um, Yeah, exactly what Justin said. If we're talking about Nolan McLean and Senga, winning these categories over our ace Peralta, then it's just it's a postseason rotation ready to roll.
I got to clarify a little bit something. The Cy Young, and this is for me. I'm not saying Nolan McLean is winning the NL Cy Young. I am saying that
Yeah.
he's winning. He's
The
winning the
Mets
Cy
Cy Young.
Young for the Mets. I am not saying that Nolan McLean is better than Paul Skeens. I will never say that for this year, right? But yes, the Cy Young in terms of the Mets, I think is going to be Nolan McLean. I'm not sure about you gentlemen, but that's the way
No,
I
yeah,
feel.
100%. These are Mets awards. So even when we say
All right,
Juan
all
Soto, clean sleep, MVP, we're talking about MVP of the Mets, although he does have the ability to win the MVP for the entire National League. In the case
Just
of Nolan
throwing it out
McLean,
there.
just in the case of Nolan McLean, we're talking about Cy Young of the New York Mets. And I agree with you guys. I think he's going to be the best pitcher on this team. Easy and done with. Let's jump to relief man of the year, which I think we all took a little bit of a different spin here. I'm going to term this as MVP of the bullpen, the most valuable pitcher in the Mets bullpen this year. I'm going Sean Manaea. So am I saying that he's going to be the closer of this team? I'm not. Devin Williams is going to be the closer of this team, and he's going to have the most saves. Sean Manaea is going to be the most valuable part of the Mets bullpen because he is going to save some of these guys from having to pitch on multiple days and back-to-back days in that piggyback role. And I think he's going to be so good at it that he's going to spend the entire season there. And I think he's going to win a ton of games because he's going to come in the middle of the game probably in the fifth inning where the Mets have a chance to get the W, right? So a guy could be in there for 4 innings. Sean Manaea takes over in the fifth, takes you through the 8th inning, and then he gets the win instead of the guy who threw 4 innings. So I think Sean Manaea is going to be legit.
Yeah, I'll go with Devin Williams coming back. 1 year in New York with the Yankees. I think he got all the butterflies out of his system. He started turning around towards the end of the year. I think he's just going to keep rolling. I think we're going to get a Milwaukee level pre-Pete Alonso Devin Williams.
Yeah, I got Luke Weaver. I had Devin Williams because I do think he's going to have a bounce back year. He's going to have a big year, but I love the way Luke Weaver has looked this spring. When he threw with the Yankees, he was their best reliever for a year and a half. He had a little bit of a slip up at the end of last year, whatever it was, like some mechanical stuff, talking about like pitch selection, right, from the Yankees, not happy with that. I think Luke Weaver is the real deal. I'm really excited about him. I think that was a great signing by the Mets. I love the way he looks this spring training. I think he's going to be our MVP of the bullpen. That jumps us into our Rookie of the Year. It's another clean sweep. I don't think that, again, this seems pretty obvious to us, right? It is Carson Benge, okay? It's obvious because this guy is going to be making the opening day roster. He is starting this year, all right, as our starting right fielder. He looks the part. I think he's the part. David Stearns has talked about him being the part. And yeah, for us, for me personally, Carson Benge, I can't even believe how excited I am to watch this guy play.
Yeah, likewise. I think he's gonna really take the league by storm.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, Sid, if he is the average leader of this team and bats 305 on the season, he's definitely going to win the Rookie of the Year, especially for the Mets. Like the Mets Rookie of the Year easily. The guy. So I agree, Carson Benge, Mets Rookie of the Year. And that's because I'm not giving it to Nolan McLean because I gave him the Cy Young. Nolan McLean has a chance to win the actual NL Rookie of the Year. And so I'm giving Carson Benge Mets Rookie of the Year. Carson Benge will probably do that for the New York Mets. If he bats 305, he'll win the actual NL Rookie of the Year. So we'll see. And then Comeback Player of the Year. This will be our last one before we close things out here, guys. I'm going Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga is going to be the comeback player of the year. I already came on here and said he's going to pitch to a 2.85 ERA. Kodai Senga, if he goes out there and does that, you have my word, he's going to win comeback player of the year.
I have Lou Bob. I think, hopefully it can't be worse than last year. I think he's going to find a lot of energy and the potential to get a new contract. I think all signs point to him getting a complete overhaul of his health, his training, and just trying to be healthy, because when he's healthy he produces. And those things, plus maybe little tweaks with the bat to kind of maybe Soto kind of gives him a pointer here or there. But I have a lot of hope for Lou Bob.
Yeah, and to wrap this up, I got Francisco Alvarez. Sid, you just alluded to it before. You got him hitting 40 home runs. Alvarez, when he came back from AAA last year, was a different player, right? He had over a 900 OPS. He's looked great in the spring already. I know he had a little bit of a back injury, right? We had that as one of our headlines. He came back and played today, though, so clearly it was nothing. He said that if it was the regular season, he wasn't even going to come out of that game. But because it was spring training, it's precautionary. I got Francisco Alvarez, comeback player of the year for the Mets. I'm really excited for this guy. I think he's going to have a big year. Sid, you obviously are excited about him. I know Stefan is as well. I've talked to him about it. So Alvarez, baby, let's see why he was the number 2 overall prospect in all of baseball a few years ago.
Yeah, let's go. Listen, we just spoke about all these accolades that these players are gonna win for the Mets. We'll check all of them. I'm gonna screenshot them. We'll post them here on it for everybody to see what our predictions were. And then at the end of the season, we'll revisit these and we'll see just how wrong we were, which will be fun for us to do. But Met fans, that's what we're doing here on this podcast. We're just looking to have a whole lot of fun. We're going to have a whole lot of fun starting on opening day. I'll be out at the ballpark nice and early, trying to promote our brand, trying to get Met fans onto the pod. We're going to pick a few of these categories, and that'll be the question we ask to Met fans, is to predict who's going to win some of these. And on our next episode, we're going to have a specific opening day episode where we talk about the game. We hear from fans live at the stadium, and we give a little recap of the game. So keep following us here on Meet the Mets Fans. Check out every single episode on meetthemetsfans.com. Let's close it out, boys. Let's put this one in the books.
All right.
If you see us at Citi Field, say hello to us, come up to us, right? We'll get you onto the pod in some capacity, right? Even if it's just a quick little interview, a quick little hello, we'll get you onto it. That's what we're looking to do for this upcoming season. I can't believe it's Thursday. I'm jacked up, boys. We got a fantasy baseball draft tomorrow night, so let's go. We're in baseball season.
Oh yeah, let's go Mets. Ready to roll. Come on.
And Sid, I'm probably going to beat you in the NBA right now, so.
Sid and Justin battling it out. NBA.
Yeah, Luca's got 29 right now. Let's go. He's so good.
Meet the Mets fans, voices rising up from the stands. Hear their cheers, hear their groans, feel their highs, feel their moans. Stories untold now on the mic. Mets fans unite.